This week is Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut. A vital chapter of the history of the modern state of Israel and its founding is the fall of the Gush Etzion bloc that took place virtually simultaneous to the founding, the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And what's also falls into line with between the Gush and the history of the State of Israel is that its rebuilding aligns with the Six-Day War and the retaking of Yerushalayim. So it's a very important event in our history, and it involves tragic Halakhic Issues that were brought to Rav Goren and to Rav Herzog. Rav Goren was the Rav Tzvai. He was the chief rabbi of the nascent IDF of Tzahal in 1948 and in 1967. And Rav Herzog was the chief rabbi in 1948. Regardless of your political views on religious Zionism, the Torah that is contained in these tshuvas is fascinating. We're not going to be able to go through the tshuvas, but there are two tshuvas that appear in Rav Herzog's Sefer, Heichal Yitzchak, one in Orach Chaim and one in Even HaEzer. The one in Orach Chaim has to do with the tshuva as far as what people should do as far as being Shomer Shabbos when convoys come and deliver goods and mail on Shabbos in a very, very desperate situation, which I'm going to give you the history of very shortly. The second tshuva, tragically, is written in 1949, a year and a half after the Hakamas HaMedina, the founding of the state, and after the tragic massacre of Kfar Etzion. Kfar Etzion was one of the settlements of the entire Gush, of the entire block of this area. And when Kfar Etzion fell, it was tragic because 127, mostly men, were just massacred. You know, just not taken as prisoners, but just massacred. And furthermore, their bodies were laid, not being allowed to be collected, for a year and a half. Almost like Beitar, when you think about the fall of Beitar. And there was a finally granted permission in November of 1949 to do what's called the Likud Atzamas, to gather the remains of these 127 men. And then the question became, what of their wives? Were they agunos or not, or could we paskin based upon the identification of the bodies, no matter although they had deteriorated quite significantly during this year and a half, that their wives were permitted to remarry. So I want to give you first the historical background, and then take a little bit of a look at these two tshuvas, just at least portions of the tshuvas. Okay, you can find all of this online, the history of Gush Etzion leading up to 1948, and also there's a very good journal called Machanayim, which has both halachic and historical, very interesting articles. The story of Gush Etzion, as I said, is inexorably tied with the story of the modern state of Israel. In Tanakh, going back to earlier periods, let's just remember that Gush Etzion is sort of that block of land that is basically between Beit Lechem, which is just south of Yerushalayim, and Hebron. That's what's called the Gush Etzion parcel of land. In this parcel of Judean territory, meaning it was part of Shevet Yehuda, a number of communities were established during the times of Tanakh, as is recorded in Sefer Yehoshua, Perek Tesvav. Moreover, King Yehoshaphat rejoiced in this area after they defeated in war Ammon and Moab. Yehoshaphat called one place in this area, he called it Emek Bracha, because they praised to Hashem in that place, and that's in Divrei Hayamim Beis, chapter Chaf. It is also known as the area where Yehuda HaMaccabi fought with the Greek Elephantine army, and that I believe is recorded in Josephus. During the Middle Ages, it was settled by Byzantines, Christians, and Jews as well. But it was not settled in large amounts. I mean, it was mostly Arab during the Middle Ages. The first settlers of the Gush in the modern period started in 1902 by Christian monks, and they built a monastery that would act as a way station for those making pilgrimages from Jerusalem to Hebron. Christians who would travel first to Jerusalem to go to the Via Dolorosa, and then they would go to Hebron to see the Maras HaMachpelah. In 1927, a group of religious Yemenite Jews founded an agricultural village they named Migdal Eder, based on a pasuk in Bereshis. The land had been purchased in 1925 by Zichron David, a private Jewish landholding company at a site between Beit Lechem and Hebron that fell between the zones of influence of the local Arab clans. This early community did not flourish, mainly due to economic hardships and escalating tension with neighboring Arab communities. 2 years later, during the 1929 Palestine riots and recurring hostilities, Migdal Eder was attacked and destroyed. Residents of the neighboring Arab village of Beit Umar sheltered the farmers, but they could not and would not return their land. In 1932, a Jewish businessman of German extraction, Shmuel Yosef Holtzman, provided financial backing for another attempt at resettling the area through a company named El Hahar, to the mountain, because the area of the Gush is surrounded by the Judean hills. The kibbutz established there in 1935 was named Kfar Etzion. And why is it called Etz Tzion? Eitz Tzion, because Holtzman, in German, the word Holz means wood. So it was in the honor of Holtzman, who bought this and began this kibbutz, that they named it Eitz Tzion, the wood of Zion. The 1936 to 1939 Arab revolt made life intolerable for the residents, who returned to Jerusalem in 1937. The Jewish National Fund organized a third attempt at settlement in 1943 with the refounding of Kfar Etzion by members of a religious group called Kevutzat Avraham. Despite the rocky soil, shortage of potable water, harsh winters, and constant threat of attack, this group managed to succeed. Their isolation was somewhat relieved by the establishment in 1945 of Masuot Yitzchak and the Ein Surim, populated by members of the religious Bnei Akiva movement and religious kibbutz movement. And just recall the timeline. We're talking about 1945. Many of these people have just been liberated from Europe, made aliyah, and want to be chalutzim. But they're frum. These are frum people. They've just survived. Against the backdrop of an impending struggle for Israeli independence, the secular Hashomer Hatzair movement founded a fourth kibbutz, Revadim. A religious center, Neve Ovadia, was also founded by the bloc's members. By the start of the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, the Etzion block numbered 450 residents and stretched over an area of 20,000 dunams, which is 20 square kilometers. Okay, let's go back to November 29th, 1947, which is the United Nations date of approving the partition plan. The bloc fell within the Arab allotted to a proposed Arab state. So what does this mean? If the Arabs accept the partition plan, then we got to leave. This belongs to Arabs, or at least we have to ask them permission to stay. The Haganah command decided not to leave the bloc. Arab hostilities began almost immediately, and travel to Jerusalem became exceedingly difficult. For 5 months, the bloc was besieged, first by Arab irregulars. What do they mean by irregulars? What it means, basically, these are not trained soldiers. These are basically guys with torches and pitchforks who are just coming out to make mayhem. And then by the Jordanian Arab Legion. Throughout the winter, hostilities intensified, and several relief convoys from the Haganah in Jerusalem were destroyed in ambushes. One such convoy was known as the convoy of the Lamed Hey, the 35. And that's what, in January 1948, a group of 38 men set out to bring a convoy of goods, and one of the guys broke his ankle on the way, and so 2 other guys accompanied him back to Yerushalayim. They were left with 35. They were ambushed, and they were all massacred. Not taken prisoner, not chased away, just massacred. For 47 days, the armed conflict was intense. In January, the women and children were evacuated with British assistance. An emergency reinforcement convoy, okay, this is the Lamed Hey again, despite some resupply flights by Piper Cubs out of Tel Aviv onto an improvised airfield, adequate supplies were not getting in. March 27th, 1948. Land communication with the Yishuv was severed completely when the Nabi Daniel convoy was ambushed on its return journey to Jerusalem. In the following months, Arab irregular forces continued small-scale attacks against the bloc, which the Haganah was able to effectively withstand. At times, the Haganah forces, commanded by Uzi Narkis, ambushed Arab military convoys, and according to Morris, also Arab civilian traffic and British military convoys on the road between Jerusalem and Hebron. The defenders of Gush Etzion and the Central Command in Jerusalem mulled evacuation, but although they had very few arms, a decision was made to hold out due to their strategic location as the only Jewish-held position on Jerusalem's southern approach from Hebron. On May 12th, the commander of Kfar Etzion requested from the Central Command in Jerusalem permission to evacuate the kibbutz, but was told to stay. Later in the day, the Arabs captured the Russian Orthodox monastery, okay, the monastery which we talked about, which the Haganah used as a perimeter fortress for the Kfar Etzion area, killing 24 of its 32 defenders. On May 13th, a massive attack began involving parts of 2 Arab Legion infantry companies, light artillery, and local irregular support attacking from 4 directions. The kibbutz fell within a day, and the Arab forces massacred the entire population of Kfar Etzion, soldiers and civilians alike. Only 3 men and 1 woman survived. Actually, there's another account, only 2 men and 1 woman. I'm not sure where they get 3 men. The following day, the day Israel declared its independence, the 3 other kibbutzim surrendered. The Arab Legion took 320 persons as prisoners of war and held them in Jordan for a year before releasing them. The bodies of the victims were left unburied until 1.5 years later, on November 17th, 1949, the Jordanian government allowed Rav Shlomo Goren to collect the remains, which were then interred at Mount Herzl. The survivors of the Etzion block were housed in former Arab houses in Jaffa. Halachic problems that arose. Okay, so we're going to look at now at 2 issues. One, any questions at this point? I think you have the historical background now. You have enough information now to understand what's going on. These were very idealistic people, but they also felt that for strategic reasons we needed to stay in Kfar Etzion and to preserve the Gush. In retrospect, probably not the right decision to make, because of the fact is we lost it anyway and there was tremendous loss of life. But be that as it may, when you're in the midst of things, how do you know what's right and what's wrong? So let's take a look we're just taking a look at the shilas that are presented to Rav Herzog and the Rabbanut HaRashit from the Jewish community of Kfar Etzion, which is completely from this kibbutz. They are presenting the shaila sometime in the winter of 1947, 1948. Okay? So the shaila starts like this. You have the sheet in front of you. It's Heichal Yitzchak or Chaim Siman Lamed Dalet. Heyot uksharenu im ha'ir he'mikrim v'kashim ma'od I efshar lechavein et seit ha'shayarot eleinu bayamim haritzuyim lanu. Because our connection with the city, I believe he's talking about Yerushalayim, are very difficult and inconsistent and very happenstance, it's very difficult to be able to calibrate when a convoy, a delivery convoy, will be able to come to the kibbutz. And we certainly can't tell them what days we prefer. Ela yesh lenatzel kol hizdamnut efsharit v'hanirit ki ritzuya mebichinat habitachon. Any time they can come is a good time from a security standpoint, because we are desperate. V'kach kara kfar pa'amim mispar ki shayarot higiu eleinu biyom hashabat v'hein tzrichot ba'oto hayom lachazor ha'ira. And it's happened many times that convoys, the only time they could come was on Shabbos, and they have to immediately leave as soon as they come and we unload the truck. Now, you'll see in a minute why. Why do you think they have to leave immediately after they unload the truck? Anyone? Can anyone guess?
They couldn't drive at night.
Not only they can't drive at night, but if the Arabs see them going into the kibbutz and they have enough time, they'll create a roadblock and they'll ambush the truck on its way back. So they've got to go in as quickly as possible and just get out of there as quickly as they can before the Arabs have a chance to get organized. So therefore he says, "B'kesher lezot titoru etzlenu mispar she'elot." So related to this, we have a number of questions. Number one, and by the way, this is all written by a man named Dov Kanohal. As you'll see, he signs the letter. He is the administrator for the kibbutz. And he asks the following question. And this is already written at a time, it's after January for sure, because as we mentioned, in January, all the women and children were evacuated from the kibbutz. They were sent to Yerushalayim. So you'll see from the questions. Aleph, Eich linhog b'frikas hamasaos mehamachoniot. Number one, how do we unload? There's no Eruv. How do we unload these trucks on Shabbos? Number two, Hamutar lanu lahachazir b'machoniot chavuyot ledelek uchlei arizah shonim, asher bil adam kashe yihye lahasig ba'ir delek o haspaka. Second question is, are we allowed to, after we take the crates off and the tanks of gas off the trucks, and we put them into our own containers, are we allowed to return the crates and the tanks back onto the truck? Because if we don't, it's going to be very difficult for them to replace the containers. I mean, we're in wartime.
So why could the trucks only come on Shabbos? What was the reason for that?
We don't know. He just says, it's not that they only came on Shabbos. They says many times it's happened that they've come on Shabbos. And we can't dictate to them, we'd like you to come on Sunday between 2 and 4. It's not possible.
The shalom of putting back is the shalom of muksa?
It's muktzah, it's hotzah. I mean, there's
Because there's no use for it?
There's no use and there's no Eruv. So, okay, so fine. So, Gimel. Ha'im mutar lanu lechalek b'Shabbat et hamichtavim asher huv'u b'Shabbat al yedei Yehudim. B'hitchashev ki lifamim over shavua yamim v'yoter. V'chaver eino mekabel michtav mibnei beito animtzaim b'chutz. Are we allowed to distribute the mail that is brought on the convoys from family members in Yerushalayim? Convoy, it's at least 7 days, usually it's 7 to 10 days, as we'll see, that a convoy can come. And people are desperate to hear from their family. He wants to know what's going on. He's tzitterin. Can we give him the letter on Shabbos? Daled. Ha'im mutar lechaverei hamazkirot liftoach ulutapel b'Shabbat b'michtavim tchufim anishlachim mechavereinu ba'ir. Uvahem harbe inyanim tchufim shel haspaka v'hagana v'hem mechakim lekabel horaot b'shayara zot. Okay, personal mail is one thing, but what about the administrators of the kibbutz? Many times we're getting vital security information from our superiors in Yerushalayim. Are we allowed to open that mail? And quite often, we need to respond right away to the people that are driving the convoy. Are we allowed to tell, give them instructions? So we need to open the mail. Hey, eich linhog b'mikre v'yesh tzorech dachuf la'anot al michtav kazeh b'Shabbat. What should we do if we have to write a written response? Would that be permitted on Shabbos to respond to it? Vav. B'hitchashev ki mishayara echat lishniya ovrim lo pam ka'asara yamim v'yoter. Many times, 10 days can go by from one convoy to the next. So therefore, ha'imutar lahavir tador shalanu al yedei Yehudim b'Shabbat. So can we schlep the mail from the people who want to send a letter on the kibbutz? They want to send a letter back to their families in Yerushalayim. And if we wait for the next truck, it's going to be 2 weeks. Are we allowed to take our own mail and give it to the truck drivers who are Jews? They may not be religious Jews that are driving the trucks, but we're from, we want to do the right thing on Shabbos. Yesh lakachat b'cheshbon ki vein hadoar yeshnam shlosha sugei michtavim. But take into account when you respond that when we give our letters to the convoy, we're combining together 3 different kinds of letters. Aleph Doar Hamazkirot Osek Binyonei Haspaka Ubitachon Tchufim. One is urgent matters pertaining to the security of our kibbutz, that we have to send information to our superiors. 2, Doar Hamazkirot Osek Binyanim Regilim. Mundane administrative issues that are not life-threatening, but still we need to communicate. And number 3, Doar hachaverim asher b'nei mishpechoteihem nimtzaim ba'aretz uv'chutz la'aretz v'lo pa'am mudagim ma'od l'goralam bi'odam et ha'tanayim ha'kashim b'hem netunim yishuveinu kan. And the third is personal communications that we feel that we need to send to our families, both in Eretz Yisrael and in Chutz la'aretz, who are tzittering, not knowing what our fate is, and they know that it's so dangerous where we are. So, for just out of the human compassion, are we allowed to send these letters? Zayin. Lifa'amim mizdamenet efsharut lahavir doar shalanu al yedei lo Yehudim. Mahadin b'mikre zeh im hadavar koreh b'Shabbat. Sometimes, if you're going to tell us it's a problem to send with Jews, sometimes it could happen that maybe a British soldier is driving the convoy, or some other guy is driving the convoy. Would we be, who's not Jewish, would we be permitted to send our mail via him? L'shem hesber nitzayin ki hamedubar b'se'ifiim hey vav zayin amur b'michtavim hamuchanim miyom chol v'ha'aruzim miyomot hachol b'chavila echad. Just to be clear, our question as far as sending our own mail is we have containers and mail sacks that are prepared with these letters from before Shabbos. Like a mail sack is tied up and ready to go, and all we need to do is bring the mail sack over to the driver and give it to him to drive back to Yerushalayim on Shabbos. Ba nimtzaim ba gam hamichtavim hatziburiyim hadanim b'inyanim hachiyuniyim v'gam hamichtavim hapratiyim v'haregilim. And in the mail sack there could be all different kinds of letters. There could be vital issues of pikuach nefesh. There could be just mundane administrative letters, and there could be personal letters, but they're all together in one bag. Uviyom HaShabbat lo na'aseit b'keshel hazeh shum pu'ula nosefet michutz lemisirat hachavila. And the only thing that we're doing, we're not writing the letters on Shabbos. All we're doing is we're giving the mail sack to the driver. Chet, ma dinam shel bigadim v'chafatzim asher nishotenu v'yeladeinu hishiru kan v'hein mevakshot lahaviram ba'ofen tachuf מפאת המחסור בהם, איך לנהוג בעניין, במקרה של שיירה חוזרת לירושלים בשבת. Now, if you remember, I read for you the history. The women and children were evacuated in January of 1948. When you evacuate someone, you tell them, take the clothes on your back and maybe a small bag. Leave everything else here. We got to get out of here, right? So our wives and our children left a lot of their personal effects, their wardrobes, their toys, everything. I mean, we want to send something. All of their personal effects, we want to send them back. Can we send them back with the trucks on Shabbos so that they can get back to our families? Ve'achshav binyan klali, and just our final question is a general question. Tet kashiyei hatachbura him chamurim. He says basically the difficulties that we are living under in this yishuv are immense. Be'et ha'hatkafa gdola begimel shvat hayu begush. פיצויים אשר הרופאים המקומיים לא יכלו לטפל בהם, ובתנאים הרגילים לא היה שום סיכוי להעבירם לבית החולים בעיר. He says there was an attack on the 3rd of Shvat. So we're talking about sometime in February they're writing this shaila. There were many people injured in this attack, and some of them needed medical attention, and the local doctors simply did not have the wherewithal and the supplies to be able to treat them properly, and there was no way that we could get them to a regular hospital in Yerushalayim. Ekev zeh huchlat lehachin makom lenechitat avironiyim be'et hatzorech. So because of that, we'd made a decision in the kibbutz that we would prepare an airstrip to allow for the flying in of medical supplies, and perhaps even, it's not clear from the shaila, but perhaps even for the transport of a patient. Ha'anashim she'avdu b'traktorim b'achsharat ha'shetach pinu bayom shishi ve'amru ki ligmar ha'avodah zikukim od liyomayim shlosha uvikshu reshut la'avod gam b'Shabbos. So he says the tractor drivers who were clearing the path say that it's Friday afternoon, we've basically finished most of the work, but we need 2 or 3 more days to flatten the soil properly. Can we continue working through Shabbos? בהתחשב כי אין אנו יודעים מתי שעת הצורך יכולה להתקרב. And the argument being is that we don't know when we're going to need it next. We have no idea. Maybe we can't wait the extra day. הדעות בינינו היו חלוקות ולבסוף סוכם כן לבצע את הדבר. We didn't, we were arguing back and forth, but we finally voted, and the vote was that, yes, we're going to permit it. בהתחשב בחשיבותו מבחינת הביטחון, thinking that, security trumps all other considerations, is פיקוח נפש. נא להודיע לנו איך לנהוג במקרה דומה לזה בעתיד. Please let us know what we should do if the question arises in the future of a similar vein. Mrs. Whitty told me that there's one place in Alon Shvut, right where the kibbutz was. It's the only straight road in all of Gush Etzion, and it's because that's where the airstrip used to be. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know but that's what she told me. So therefore, Nala Hodia Lanu. So what should we do in the future? Ana mekavim ki kvod Torat harabanim harashiyim ya'ayinu b'chol she'ilotenu v'yodi'enu b'urot al kol she'ilotenu uvehegdein. That please, we hope that you'll look into our shilas and give us clarity on these matters, and please do it quickly. Time is of the essence. B'chol hakavod dov kanohol. With great respect, dov kanohol. Rav Herzog's response begins with a bracha and ends with a bracha. La'achenu hayikarim anshei Kfar Etzion, Hashem yagein aleichem, v'lo yi'uneh lechem kol ra v'tizku liyeshua hashalema b'mehera. Because on a bracha, Hashem should protect you, nothing bad should befall you, and you should get a Yeshua. The end of the tshuva is bibracha uvitfila l'shomer Yisrael lishmorchem u'latzilchem u'lagen aleichem l'ma'anchem u'leman beit Yisrael kulo achichem Yitzchak Isaac Halevi Herzog Rosh HaRabbanim LiYisrael. Again, a prayer that the Shomer Yisrael should watch over you and save you. Tragically, we know the result. Now, I haven't even published, I don't have printed in front of you the full text of the tshuva, which goes on for a couple of pages. Why? Because it's fairly obvious what Rav Herzog's tshuva is going to be. Anything you need for pikuach nefesh, don't even consider it Shabbos. It's a mitzvah. Not only is it mutter for you to continue building that airstrip and to deliver the mail and to unload and everything, it's an obligation for you to do so, because nothing overrides pikuach nefesh.
Not every question was pikuach nefesh.
The only area where he says you should be machmir is distributing personal letters to the...
Even the toys or garments and stuff that you want to send back.
Okay, so those may not be issues of pikuach nefesh, but okay, fine. But basically anything that involves pikuach nefesh, Rav Herzog said, it's not a question, go ahead and do it. And you see that he's extremely hesitant to even be machmir in the things where it's kedar to be machmir, because as you can see from the shaila that's being asked, these are people who are very frum and are very hesitant to be mechalel Shabbos even for pikuach nefesh. Something that would seem fairly obvious when you study the halacha, they're very reluctant to do so. So he has to sort of bend over and say, you've got to do these things because you've got to save yourselves.
They get treated like soldiers. You know how soldiers in the army get like a lot of nets.
Right, they're given a dispensation by the poskim that you have to, when you're protecting the state of Israel, you've got to do whatever it takes to. You can't leave your post to go and daven. You can't leave your post to make kiddush. You got to, when you're at your post, you got to be at your post, and no other halachic considerations count. That's it. Okay, so that's part A, and part B. Okay, so I mentioned to you 127 people are massacred at the Kfar Etzion. A year and a half, the Arabs will not let the bodies be released. In Heichal Yitzchak, Chelek Even HaEzer, Shuva Beis, the second Shuva of the Sefer, Rav Herzog deals with the whole Aguna Shaila for the wives. It is the most awesomely comprehensive tshuva that you'll ever see. It must run on for at least 60 pages. going through any possible permutation where the Gemara talks about the Aguna issue. We know that the main sugya of Aguna is in the end of Maseches Yevamos, and he talks about Mayim sheyesh lahem sof, Mayim she'ein lahem sof. You know, what level of evidence do you need to know that a person is dead in order to allow his wife to remarry? So we're not going to go, it's a very extensive sugya. There are many, many different cases. What if you see a guy who's been mauled by an animal and you see it's his clothes? Is that enough evidence? What if you can see a birthmark? Is that evidence? What about other mitigating factors, such as that even if, what are we scared of? We're worried that the guy never came home after the war, and maybe he just used the attack as a pretense to run away from his wife and leave her. But what if you know for a fact that they had a happy marriage? Is that a mitigating circumstance as well? So there's so many different factors, and he runs through all of the Shilas and Shuvas, the Rishonim, the Achronim. It's just awesome. The way Rav Herzog got involved is because Rav Goren was the one who originally wrote a Machberet to make several halachic arguments to be matir. He asked Rav Herzog to comment on it, and Rav Herzog then writes this tshuva. To be able to get the background, let's take a look at the footnote on that tshuva that was written by the publisher of Rav Herzog's tshuvas. And so that's what's in source number 2. Amar HaMevi Lebeit HaDfus. So the publisher writes as follows: B'yom Chet Tammuz Tafshin Tet Hudia B'Knesset Sar HaBitachon Ki Harav HaTzvi HaRashi Metapel B'Baya Shel Agunot Chalalei Milchemet HaKomimiyut. That in the assembly of the Knesset on the 8th of Tammuz Tafshin Tet, 1948, they announce that 1949, excuse me, they announce that the Rav Hatzvai, that's Rav Goren, is dealing with the whole question of agunas, of the War of Independence. Umechin et hachomer hadarush l'man yuchal beitin harabani lahatiran mikvalei ha'igun. And they're working on preparing material that would allow the Rabbanut to deliberate as to whether they can permit these women to remarry. Okay. Et hachomer hanogea la'agunot Halakhic Kfar Etzion kvi'at ha'uvdot u'biruran mebechina ha'alachtit arach harav hatzvi harashi v'higisho lifnei maran zatzal. So Rav Goren was the one who organized all of the material regarding the specific issue of those who were slain in Kfar Etzion. And he presented it to Rav Herzog. B'chomer zeh dana tshuvato zu shel Maran, and that's what Rav Herzog is responding to. L'to'elet ha'ma'ayanim hinenu mivim lahalan et hareka ha'uvdati shel kivush Kfar Etzion. But to help you understand the halachic issues, you need to know the facts. You need to know what exactly happened, the background as to what happened when Kfar Etzion was taken and it fell. Pratei ha'me'ora b'yom daled iyar shnat tafshin chet nichbash Kfar Etzion. On the 4th of Iyar, Tafshin Ches, Kfar Etzion was conquered. Acharei kravot azim v'haftzatza kveda, after fierce battles and heavy ammo, heavy fire, but bombardment, right? Acharei hakrav ba tevach nora, and after the battle, there was a massacre. Ha'aravim hakovshim shenichnasu lakfar mikol avarav himshichu laharog et kol mi shematzeu v'chislu et she'erit hamiginim. So the Aravim came from all 4 sides, and that's very important from a halachic standpoint to understand that one of the arguments to be made is that this is like mayim sheyesh lahem sof, where you see exactly where the boundaries of the body of water are, where you witness the person drown. Because the Gemara says if it's mayim she'ein lahem sof, you see a guy bob his head underwater, and he doesn't bob it back up. So you can't assume that he drowned, because if you don't know where the river ends, maybe downstream he was able to survive. But here, if the Arabs are coming in from all 4 sides and massacring everyone, so maybe it's like Mayim Sheyesh Lahem Sof. So they wiped out everyone. Shnei Gvarim v'nara echat hi haksharit, ze omer hamimune al hakesher ha'alchuti, bilvad noteru v'lukchu bashevi. So there were 2 young men and 1 young lady. She was the secretary. She was in charge of the telegraph machine, and we don't know whether it was even working by the end. They were the only ones that were left alive, and they were taken captives. Al rega'av ha'achronim shel hakfar yadua lanu rak mitoch idiotehem umitoch divrehem shel k'tzinei halegyon ha'aravi. How do we know what happened at the very end? From the testimony of these three Jews, and from the testimony of the commander of the Arab Legion, who was boasting to the Jews about what had happened. Eidut haksharit acharei hatevach hovilu ha'aravim et haksharit laharot la shekol ha'yehudim b'kfar nehergu v'gam hodi'u la al kach. The young lady who was the secretary, so she, after the massacre, the Arabs bring her to the battlefield, and they show her all of the corpses, and they tell her, we've killed everybody. Hi betucha shelo nishara az nefesh chaya b'kfar. She says that she's certain that no one is left alive. Hi ra'ata gviot rabot. She sees many corpses. Benochechota himshich ketzin aravi lirot bagufot, va'af zarak rimon lamarteif binyan hanikra minzar hagermani, misafek shema mistatrim sham Yehudim. And the Arab who's with her, walking around the massacre site, is taking out his pistol and shooting bullets into the corpses to prove that they're all dead. And he even takes a hand grenade, throws it into the German monastery, into down the stairs of the monastery to make sure that no one's hiding at the bottom. So just in case there's anyone that was hiding in the basement, they're now dead. Haksharit betucha shelo hayta shum efsharut shel bericha, ki nosaf lekitur mehudak shel hakfar yedei haligyonarim ha'aravim, hayu kol heharim misaviv shchorim me'anshei haknufiyot. She is certain, she says, that no one could have escaped the Arabs, because number one, they surrounded the kfar from all sides, the kibbutz from all sides, and additionally, if anyone would have escaped, where would they have gone? In the hills, there were gangs of Arabs, asher za'amam haya atzum v'hargu ba'achzariyut b'kavana shelo lahashir saridu palit. Their job was to kill anyone that they saw running away. So, and they were merciless as much as the guys who came to massacre the kibbutz. L'mocharat hodia katzin aravi l'ksharit kama pe'amim umibeli shemishu sha'al oto al kach shechutz mimena she'uvra lechevron nisharu b'chayim od shnei bachurim Yehudiyim. That the Arab officer tells this secretary, this young lady, tells her many times without being prompted, he says that the only survivors are you and these two Bacharim that are in captivity. They've been put in a jail in Jericho and everyone else is dead. So as far as the testimony of these two Bacharim, they testify how everyone was gathered into a circle, and the Arabs basically killed everyone in the circle. They survived miraculously, and they were taken as prisoners. Besides them, they tell these two boys that besides them and this young lady, there is no one left alive.
Do we ever know how old the boys are?
No, we don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's recorded somewhere, but not in the tshuva. Biyom Chet Cheshvan Tafshin Yud, the 8th of Cheshvan, 5710. So that's the winter of 1949. It's Cheshvan, so it's December, maybe November. It's November of 1949. קיבל הרב צבאי הראשי רשות הכובשים לגשת לכפר עציון והתחיל יחד עם נציגי הרבנות הצבאית לאסוף את שיערי עצמות החללים הקדושים שובו לקבורת ישראל בירושלים עיר הקודש תיבנה ותיכונן ביום כ"ה חשוון תש"י. They are finally granted permission to go back to Kfar Etzion to do what's called likut atzamot, to gather the remains of everyone and to give them a proper burial in Yerushalayim. And ha'aravim he'idu, and this was done at Har Herzl. Ha'aravim heidu shelo hishiru b'kfar shum guf shel neharag mishalahem. And the Arabs say that anyone that you find, any corpse that you find is for sure Jewish because we've taken care of the Arab corpses. So don't worry about that you're mixing up Yehudim and Aravim. We've already taken all of our people. Pratim nosafim shel ha'me'ora mitbarim b'mekomam b'toch tshuvat Maran Zatzal. Any other details you can find within the tshuva itself. And it's on the Bar Ilan CD. If you want to go through it, it'll take you about 6 months just to go through the tshuva. I mean, it's massive. I've never seen a tshuva this long. Not even Rabbi Ovadia's tshuvas are this long. If we have time, I'll just go through a couple of circumstances that I thought were of interest, just in passing, without holding really in the whole sugya. But I just wanted you to take a look at the maskana of the tshuva. And Rav Herzog, after going through pretty much every single sugya that one could possibly think of, he is prepared to be matir these women. But he says in Yud Zayin at the very end of the tshuva, maskanata tshuva sof davar da'ati, shekol eila hanashim shel anshe Kfar Etzion zal, Hashem yikom damam, mutarot lihinasei lechatchila. He says, it is my opinion that even lechatchila these women can remarry, these agunos. Biram lechomer ha'inyan v'chulei, ani matneh, shehagaon Reb Shlomo Goren Shlita yatzia et kuntraso hamitzuyan, lifnei hageonim ba'alei hora'a hameforsanim halalu she'b'ir hakodesh tipaneh v'tikonein. However, because of the severity of the matter, I mean, this is, a chashash of, Eishes Ish, we have to be very, very careful with this. So I want Rav Goren to take his kuntras that he prepared, present it to 3 gaonim, 3, great poskim that are in Yerushalayim, Ma'alas, and see what they say about it. Ma'alas kavod chaveri hagon rishon letzion shlita. Number 1, the chief Sephardic rabbi, you got to show it to. Number 2, Hagon Rav Tzvi Pesach Frank Shlita, based in Yerushalayim. I show it to Rav Tzvi Pesach Frank. And number 3, Vagon Reb Shlomo David Kahana, or Reb Shimon David, I'm not sure, Kahana Shlita. Lifnim Rava is based in Devarsha. That's number 3. The previous chief rabbi of Warsaw, who's now living in Yerushalayim. And number 4, Hagaon Reb Shulam Rata Shlita, Lifnim Af based in Chernovich Shlita. The former chief rabbi of Chernovich, which country is that in? Is that in Hungary? I'm not sure where that is. Or maybe it's in Russia, I don't know. But he's living, Rav Meshulam Rata is also living in Yerushalayim. You have to show it to him as well. V'yevakesh hamatzia se'et kuntraseim hachashuvim yishu la'achar zman, that she'et kuntraseim hachashuvim yishu la'achar zman v'yizdarzu lehodia lo da'atam agdola b'kitzur. And that you should leave the kuntras with these 4 great poskim, but tell them that you need a tshuva as quickly as possible. V'im shnayim mishlosha gedolei ha'ora hanal yaskimu leheter, ani matir behechlet. That if 2 out of the 3 out of these gedolei ha'ora, it's strange. I saw 4 names, but he says if 2 out of the 3. So what did I get wrong? So Rav Tzvi Pesach Frank, Rav David Kahana. Oh, maybe the Rishon LeZion, he wasn't asking for his final ruling. Maybe he just wanted him to see it. And then I want you to show it to Rav Tzvi Pesach Frank, I want you to show it to Rav Kahana, and I want you to show it to Rav Rata. And if 2 out of the 3 of those paskin that it's okay, ani matir behechlet v'hamakom yair einenu b'mor torato hakadosh hakadosha v'yizakenu l'aramat keren Yisrael v'keren haTorah b'meher didan. Amen, amen. Noum Yitzchak Isaac Halevi Herzog Harav Rashi Yisrael. He says, I'm prepared to be matir, and Hashem should raise our state, to be successful. Anyway, tragic circumstances that he has to deal with in the founding of the state of Israel. In the last couple of minutes, let's just go through a couple of paragraphs, because I do have to leave a little bit early tonight, unfortunately, again. Let me just go through a couple of issues. The first is, when we look at the very beginning, we see it's Heteran mikvalei ha'igun shel neshei miginei Kfar Etzion Hashem yikom damam shenaflu al kiddush Hashem b'milchemes hakomemius b'yom daled iyar tavshin ches. So we know what the tshuva is about. And Rav Herzog writes, Iyanti b'kuntraso harishon shel hagon Rav Shlomo Goren nero Yair, va'ani omer yiyasher chelei leoraita, ki melacha gedola asa. So first of all, I saw everything that Rav Goren wrote. It is published somewhere, but I couldn't get my hands on the original text of the Kuntras. And I say to him, Yishar Koach, because you've done a great job. Hein ba'asifat ha'uvdot ubiruran ve'hein ba'hatzat hatzad ha'alachti. First of all, you've gotten your facts, you've collected all of the data of the circumstances behind these people's deaths, and also you've collected all of the halachic information. V'yafeh he'ir shekfar b'milchemet Shaul hitlaptu b'baya zu shel agunot mipnei shemi shehaya b'milchama lo ibeid chezkas chaim shelo v'hitkinu shekol hayotze lamilchemes beis David kosev get krisus leishto. So Rav Herzog first raises the important point. He says, when David HaMelech took an army to war, even when many people were killed, Rachmana litzlan, you couldn't be matir the wife unless you saw the body. Just because a guy didn't come back from war was not enough evidence to be matir his wife. And it was on that basis that Shaul HaMelech made a policy that anyone who's going out to battle has to write a conditional get to his wife that if I don't return, then you are hereby megureshes from now. So va'omnam anu harabanut harashit le'eretz Yisrael da'agnu lazeh merosh v'hitkananu harsha'a leget lehikatev ulehichatem b'chol mikre shel yotzei lemilchama. Aval mipeit choser pikudat tzva'it lo yatsa davar lepol barov hamikrim v'anachnu nikiyim me'Hashem u'miyisrael v'ata le'etzem ha'inyan. He says, remember, this is 1948. We're just getting our act together as an organized army. So we had plans in place to do the very same thing, that soldiers who go out to battle should write a conditional get to their wives. But we didn't have a chance to execute the plan. There just wasn't enough time. And so we are saying, the reason why he refers to, because I need to say this, is because I need to exonerate the rabbinate for not being more, on top of things, just because there was chaos. We just didn't have the opportunity. I don't know what is done in Israel today in cases of war. Does anyone know? Does a chayal have to write a conditional get to his wife? I don't know what's done today. I'd be curious if anyone can tell me. If you have any children who have served in the army, please let me know. Okay. He goes through so many permutations just to... One argument he gives is how desiccated and how deteriorated are the remains. It's only when the remains are totally desiccated and totally deteriorated that you say that you cannot use any identifying signs. But even though the bodies are very desiccated, nevertheless, perhaps we can use identifying signs. The wives of these men swear that they had happy marriages. Their husbands would never have run away. The Arabs are the ones, and we have live testimony that no one is left alive. The Arabs themselves boast that no one has been left alive. When you find bones in a lion's den, when do you have a right to say that the guy that was thrown in the lion's den those remains are his? So those are some of the things that he deals with, and so many other things. But if anyone wants the full copy of the tshuva, just please let me know. But the good news is, in 1967, after almost 20 years, we get the gush back, Baruch Hashem, from the ashes of those terrible times and the martyrs that fell. 50,000 residents in Gush Etzion. But it's important to remember, especially because this Yom Ha'atzmaut at the Bayit, a survivor of the Gush Etzion massacre is going to be speaking. I don't know if he's from Kfar Etzion. I'm assuming he's not one of those two Bacharim that survived, but maybe he is, I don't know. But there were so many other Kfarim, so many other villages in the Gush, but he's a survivor of one of them. He's probably one of those 300 and something guys who were taken captive, and we're going to hear his story. And now you have some more context to deal with this. Yes?
Rabbi Goren, he wrote an autobiography that published in English, was very good. He has a whole chapter on going into the Arab countries, like eastern Jordan, what we call now Gush, looking for bodies. So, because they were doing this on a halakhic basis, we actually went and tried to identify bodies of different people. We described specifically in the Gush what happened there, who we talked to. And
Yes, it's worthwhile. I've been told it's an excellent
I read it's very, very
autobiography. Yeah, it's
Not
published.
just for that. but
It's
many-
published by Magid, I think.
I don't remember the publisher.
Okay. Anyway, you should look for it. Okay. Have a good night.